What's good YouTube, it's Adam from I'm a Music Mobile. Welcome to a brand new video. Today we're gonna go ahead and remake a classic, Maino's All the Above featuring T-Pain. The tempo for this one is 74.6 beats per minute, and the track is produced by Nard B Just Blazex. Now for this one, we're gonna go ahead and start from the strings because that creates the foundation for this entire track. Now I love these types of beats. There was a time in hip hop where a lot of beats sounded like this, a lot of artists wanted beats like this, but this one is just a classic, so let's get to it. All right, so for this one, we're gonna open up Logic's library. We'll go over to Legacy, we'll go to Logic, we'll go to Orchestral, we'll go to Strings, and we'll go to the Viola section staccato. This one right over here. Let's go and draw on that pattern. It's basically a 4-chord progression that happens throughout the entire track. All right, so there's our chord. We're just going to duplicate that over 4 times. All right, let's duplicate that chord over, and then we're going to go bring this one up, and we'll bring the top note up. All right, and we'll draw on the next chord here. All right, so there is the main strings that we hear in the track. Next, let's go ahead and start layering that out. So for the next one, we're gonna create a new software instrument track. We're gonna go over to the same section. Actually, we can just duplicate this. We'll go over to the same section, except we're gonna change up the strings. We're gonna bring in the violin section 2 legato, this one right over here. And we're gonna copy down the same pattern, and it sounds like this. So see, I kind of add some texture to it. And then what we're gonna do here is we're gonna duplicate this pattern over because there is one chord that gets stretched out on the second part of this 4-bar loop. And the chord that I'm talking about happens right here. Oh, that's on the other one. I can just, here, I'll just duplicate it here. So it kind of gets stretched out on this chord right here. All right, and then we'll just keep building on these strings to create like this huge string section. So we're gonna duplicate this once again. We're gonna go over to our library, same spot, except we're gonna go to the top here and we're gonna go bring in the bass section staccato. And this is gonna be the bass part of the strings. Except what we're gonna do here, we're just gonna lower the velocity a bit. All right, and then we're gonna add this off note here. And for this off note, the one that's happening not on the chord, it's going to be a harder hit. All right, I'm just gonna duplicate that over the entire pattern. So we don't need the second half here. I'm just gonna stretch that out, and it sounds like this. All right, don't worry about the mix just yet. We'll get to the mix at the end. We're just getting in the sounds right now. So let's go ahead and bring in another set of strings. For this one, we're gonna go over to Logic's new set of strings, studio strings. We'll bring in the studio cellos. We're gonna copy down the same pattern. We're just gonna change the articulation. So this one we're gonna leave on sustain because that's what we want. Let's go ahead and duplicate this track once again. Copy this one down. And for this one, we're gonna pitch up the strings 1 octave. And for these strings, the articulation, actually I don't think the articulation was on here. Let me just go back here, make sure we have sustain on. That's better. And then for this one, we're gonna bring in spiccato. So get that little sharp noise in there. So we're just building out the strings. We're gonna create the whole sort of part of the track, the main loop of the track, and then we'll get to arrangement after. And then we'll go and duplicate that string set once again, copy down the same pattern. We're gonna leave the higher octave strings. We're just gonna change this back to sustain. So we have a lower octave sustain and higher octave sustain. Just gives it a fullness. And then we'll take all these strings and put it as a group. So we'll select them all together, go Shift Command G. We'll bring in some reverb. It's going to boost the highs a bit. And I'm going to bring in some reverb. All right, next up, let's get to the bass, start filling this track out. So create a new software instrument track. I'm gonna go over to a preset I have from the Toronto Views kit I have. I'll place a link down below if you're interested in it. It's like Drake presets for Logic. So Toronto Views, and we'll bring in the bass, Moog bass over here. We're gonna adjust the settings in a moment. Let's just draw on that pattern and then we'll get to that sound design. So there is the main bass pattern. Next, let's get to some sound design, get it sounding closer to the one in the original track. So open up Logic's ES2 synthesizer. Bring down the resonance. Already sounds closer to the original. Just bring back the cutoff a bit. Bring in some drive. So that is the sound. Next, let's just add EQ just to sort of shape it up a little bit more. We're just going to take off some of the top end here. Just a little bit here. Make it a little bit more nasally. Take the low end out because we will add a sub bass in here. And that pattern just gets duplicated over the 4 bars as well. All right, next up, let's just fill out this bass, make it nice and full. For that, we'll create a new software instrument track. We'll bring in Logic's Alchemy, and we're gonna bring in a super saw preset. So we're just gonna type in here, classic super saw. So this one right over here. We're gonna copy down the same pattern. It's gonna sound like this. For this one, we're just gonna stretch out the notes. Take a little bit of the bottom and top end out. And then last but not least, let's bring in that sub bass. So bring in a new software instrument track. We'll bring in Logic's ES1 synthesizer. We're gonna start off with a preset here. And the preset will be found under synth bass. We'll go over to the sub bass preset. We're gonna copy down the same pattern that we had before. There's just gonna be a couple different elements to the pattern that will be slightly different. So for this section, it's gonna be a little bit different. So right here, it's gonna be a little different. This note's gonna stop here. And we're gonna get like this high melody thing happening. So we're gonna go. All right, so that's the pattern. We're just gonna go ahead and just copy that over the 4 bars as well. And then we'll just join that up. And then for some of the sound design, we're pretty much just going to leave it default stock here. Yeah, I don't think we need to change much here. I'm just going to bring an EQ, just take out a little bit of the buzziness. All right, I'm just going to bring in a limiter here because I am clipping a bit, and we'll get to mixing later. So all together. Next up, we have the lead melody, which is like a super detuned saw wave. So let's go and create a new software instrument track. We'll bring in Logic's ES2 synthesizer. We'll get to the sound design in a moment. Let's just draw on that pattern. Let's just quantize that up. Oh, that's not the right note. Move it one up. All right, so let's go ahead and just duplicate this over the 4 bars and just join that together. Now, let's get to that sound design. We are designing a sound base that's very similar to the Usher synth sound that we created once. So what we're gonna do here, just select this to mono. We're gonna bring in unison. I'm just gonna pull the amount of voices of unison. And we're gonna use only 2 oscillators. So we're gonna go 50-50 split between oscillator 1 and 2. And we're gonna turn our analog knob all the way up here. So we're already getting closer to that sound. All right, so we're getting a little closer. Next, let's just bring in some glide here. Just a little bit. And we're gonna pull up the attack here so it's not so plucky. Sort of like a brass synth. All right, together with everything. And then we're gonna get a organ sound here. So I'm gonna go over to library, our Logic library. We're gonna go over to Vintage B3 organ, and we're gonna bring in a this grand organ preset right here. It's going to follow the same chord progression as our strings, except it's going to be just a chord and not like this sort of staccato thing happening. All right, let's just take that out. We'll duplicate this over and stretch those notes out. Now this happens more in the background, so what we're gonna do here is just open up an EQ and just take out some of that top end. Pushes it back a little bit. And we could take a little bit of that bass out so it doesn't conflict with our sub bass. All right, this is in the background, so we'll just mix it together here. Kind of just fills it out. And then next up we get some pianos. So we're gonna create a new software instrument track. And let's bring in those pianos. So bring in the library here, we'll go to piano, and we'll go over to the Studio Grand Piano. What we're gonna do here is, I'm going to copy over the same string pattern over there. And we'll just edit this a little bit here. So for one, we're just going to stretch out all the notes. And then we're going to add in like this little bass pattern that's playing on the piano. And it's going to go something like this. So we're going to go down to a nice low octave here. All right, just bear with me for a moment here. All right, we get the same little run. Except this comes back down. And it just follows everything else here. Duplicate that over. So let's just go ahead and just duplicate that over. And I'm just going to soften these hits a little bit so it's not so hard. And that will just make it a little softer hitting. All right, next up we got another piano. It's like this art piano. It happens at different parts in the track. It's not happening all at the same time, but I'll just show it to you here. So I'm just going to duplicate the same piano here. We're going to take the progression from our organ. I'm going to pitch this down 1 octave. Bring up the velocity a bit. And for this, like I said, it is an art pattern. So I'm going to bring in the arpeggiator. The way the arpeggiator is going to work, we're just going to play the chords down. You can see when everything starts to come together, it starts to become like this huge wall of sound. It's just beautiful. And then of course we get the drums. So let's go ahead and bring in those drums. Let's go to all the above drum kit. All right, we'll start off with the snare. All right, I'm just going to change this over to a brush tool, and I'm going to change this to 32 notes. Just going to paint in 2 hits there. And this just basically duplicates itself, so let's just copy that over. There is a B part section to the snare, but we'll get to that a little later. Let's just get to those ghost notes here, those ghost snares. Next up, let's get to that crash. And that just happens once every 4 bars. And then we got like 2 hi-hats going on. So for the first one, it's going to go something like this. It's actually the same pattern, but it just goes like this. And we'll come back to our brush tool, and I'm just going to paint this in here. All right, and then we're going to draw on our hi-hat pattern here. Except these offbeats, we're just going to do it a little softer so that there's a little bit of movement to this pattern. And then the second hi-hat pattern is the same, so we're just going to take that and just duplicate that over. And next, the kick. Copy the same pattern over. All right, and next let's get to that B snare pattern. So it's essentially the same thing as the first one, except for the latter half over here, it gets a little bit more wild. So we get this one added over here, and then we're gonna get another one added over here, and then we're gonna add in a couple more rolls here. All right, and then all together. Go ahead and arrange it, mix it, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the arrangement, a little bit some of the pieces that we probably are gonna need to add, and then we'll get to the final arrangement to hear how everything sounds together. All right, so here is the final mix and arrangement to the track. I'm just gonna take you through a couple things here in the session that we didn't point out during the tutorial. So for one, we get this riser over here. So you'll probably remember that riser from a lot of hip hop tracks in that era of music. And then we're gonna move forward a bit to this big chorus section here. The strings do switch up a little bit, so just watch this here. And we'll go to this big section here. You get this right over here. That little run of the strings happens a couple times throughout the arrangement. Just want to point that out. And then as we move towards the end of the track, we get this breakdown, which we didn't break down, if you will. So we get a new organ sound. And for that organ sound, I'm using a preset found under Vintage B3 Organ, Experimental, the church door organ. However, I did adjust the sound a little bit. So I don't remember exactly what I changed as I was doing it, but these are my settings for the Vintage B3 organ. I just drew down some of the bars just to give it the same tone and texture that you hear in the original track. And then as that's played, we get a new set of drums here. So we get a kick, a hi-hat, a snare, and an off snare here. All right, next let's go ahead and take a listen to how everything sounds together. there is All the Above by Maino featuring T-Pain, remade in Logic Pro. For the Logic Pro users out there, I'm going to go ahead and save this entire session for you, place it as a downloadable link below this video. If you don't use Logic, I got your back as well. For the next part of the MIDI stems, audio stems, of course include the drum kit that you heard in this remake. You can find that entire playback down below the like button as well. If you do have a question on this or just want to chat or have any suggestions for future videos, so we'll chat down below. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one. Later.